I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, December the 17th, brought to you in part by Zactran. Bovine respiratory disease steals pounds. Zactran pounds back. Remember to observe your 35-day withdrawal period after treatment. For more information about Zactran, get in touch with your Beringer Ingelheim representative or go to zactran.com. Cash cattle hobbling into the holidays, and not your feeders. Feeders actually selling better on Thursday than we've seen them selling all week long, and we did have some really nice reputation consignments offered in some of your big Thursday sales, which that helped quite a bit. But you know, your calf buyers were still pretty aggressive and showing kind of more faith in the market, with your board not falling completely out of bed and bouncing back some, not on your nearby feeder cattle, but on the out fronts and on your your live cattle contracts. But that made people feel a little bit better. But these fat cattle, I mean, selling out of the feedlots, we haven't had a lot of negotiated trade this week, and we've been talking for the last couple of weeks how if you have a lot of negotiated pure cash sales, and your market's normally going to be higher. If you don't have very many, it's going to be lower. Yet we still have 2 out of your 3 big trade associations that are not backing a minimum negotiated cash mandate. And I don't understand why they wouldn't if they're not selling out to your big corporate feeders and your packers. But it's hard to believe that people aren't going for that. Of course, RCAP is wanting 50%. I mean, it's not that they don't want it, they just want more than we can get. NCBA hasn't really decided what they're going to do, although if they do what they said they were going to do, they've got to get behind something. They've got to get in favor of a regulatory or a legislative action, because they said they were going to do that. We tripped all the triggers twice, and so we've got to wait until February to see what they're going to get behind, if indeed they are going to stay hooked with what they said they were going to do. But your big packers, through the pandemic, increased their profits 300%. And that is just a lot to gather right there, 300%. But you know, they were not able to harvest as many cattle as they wanted to, and then they took advantage of that after the worst of the pandemic, and were able to keep those profits way up there. But here of late, they've been struggling a little bit. I say struggling, they just haven't been able to keep their profit margins as high as what they would like. But box beef cutout values have fallen a bunch since the inflated levels that they hung with there through the worst of the pandemic, and on further a little bit out. But and your fat cattle prices, cash prices, have come up quite a bit. But you know, we got past the 130, which we seemed like we stayed at 127, 128, 129 forever. Once we got over the 130, there we just went straight up, and when we gained you know, 10, 12 bucks there in about a month. But then now they're taking it back just as fast, and guys are so quick to give that up, you know, like there's never going to be another day. But these cattle are still pretty heavy. And guys that have heavy cattle, they kind of need to get rid of them this week, because you never know what's going to happen during the 2 weeks of slowdown, and with your big holidays, Christmas and New Year's landing right on the weekend like that, then they're likely to take you know, your Fridays off there, and nobody really knows, you know, what they can get sold through the next 2 full weeks, because I mean, we've got 2 full weeks of holidays. A lot of times it's a week and a half, but we've got 2 full weeks. And then this week we had some slowdown due to the wind from that happened on Wednesday, and so we weren't able to get things going as much as we want, although it wasn't as bad as what they tried to make people believe. We've only lost maybe 10,000 head for the whole week's harvest, which is not that big of a deal. But we are coming into 2 full weeks here where they've likely got enough formula cattle to keep them going as much as they can possibly harvest there, and they were wanting to reward their employees with both you know, year-end bonuses and giving them some time off with their families there during the holiday season, and that's great that they're going to do that. But keep in mind, guys, as soon as we come back for the first week of the new year, they're going to want to hump again and really turn those chain speeds up and get rolling again. We're still going to be short of market ready cattle, and so we ought to be able to gain some of this ground back. But my gosh, they're giving it up so fast. As hard as it is to gain, it's unbelievable how easy guys give it up and say how easy it is. I'm sure they don't want to, but it just sure looks that way when you have a lower market middle of the week, and then you have a lower market again late in the week. That does seem pretty bad. But let's look at your board for Thursday. December live cattle futures are actually up 27 cents at 135.27. February was up 47 cents at 137.05. And your back months of live cattle contracts down just a nickel to up 40 cents. So not too bad there late in the week before your big holidays. But January feeder cattle down 85 cents as it's just trying to get back in line with what your index levels are. You've been running at a big premium, for months and months, but down to 162.57, which is still a couple bucks higher than what your index levels are. March down 15 cents at 164.32. Go on your back months of feeder cattle, they were mixed from down $0.50 to up $0.50. But my gosh, these inputs are getting high, and your grains were all up big. Corn, your March contract, which is a spot now, up 5.5 cents, and corn now at 5.91 1/4. And talk to some of your commodity people, they just assume that corn is going to break over $6 here, if not during the holidays, soon after the new year. And that's going to change the complexion of everything when we break over that $6. If you do loose math, that means that your cost of gains are going to be at least $1.20 a pound. And with the prices that some of these guys are giving for these feeder cattle, it's going to be hard to wash out whenever we have to struggle so hard to get any market position in your fed cattle market. But your beans were up 13 cents for March at 12.78 1/4. And the Kansas City wheat to hard red winter wheat is just crazy, guys. And I know it's dry in the hard red winter wheat regions and all that stuff. We've known that. But your March Kansas City wheat was up 18.25 cents a bushel at 803 3/4 a bushel. Look at your fat cattle trade, and we had a little bit more trade on Thursday. I don't know whether we'll have any on Friday or not. We haven't traded a whole lot, but didn't really need to either. But you look at the confirmed sales that we had on Thursday. Colorado had one load, big whoop, but it did print at $136 live. Iowa 1,300. They've sold about 10,500 head for the week. Live sales from 137 to 138. They've been doing that all week long. And dress sales from 218 to 219. Nebraska only about 700 head. And only 13,000 for the week. I would expect we'd get a few more out of Nebraska, and we may have had that on Thursday. They just didn't get turned in. But we did have just a few at 140, because pretty much 140's left us. So, that's no longer the market, but had just a few head there sell at that price, and mostly dress sales from 218 to 220. Kansas sold about 1,000 head confirmed on Thursday, about 5,700 head for the week. They wouldn't have to sell anymore, but all the live sales on Thursday in Kansas were at 136. How disappointing is that? That is $2 lower than Tuesday of this week and $4 lower than last week. I mean, and like I said, giving it up, and pretty handily giving it up there. Texas only had about a couple of hundred head there confirmed, and about 4,900 head for the week. Live sales in Texas from 136 to 138. Box beef cutout values were actually higher, and your packers are able to convince their customers that they're going to be short of product pretty easily. They talked about the slowdowns because of the high winds on Wednesday, and all of a sudden we got higher product on Thursday. Choice cuts are up 271 at 262.97. Selects up 69 cents at 248.14. Your slaughter, though, we talked about losing a whole second shift on 3 major plants on On Wednesday, no, not all of them, because your slaughter so far for the week's 479,000 up through Thursday. That's just 10,000 off a big week last week and 10,000 more than the same week a year ago. But your actual slaughter data come in, and it was bearish. We had our actual information come in for the week ending December the 4th, had dressed steer carcass weights at 928 pounds. That is ginormous, and that makes early December the heaviest carcass weights any time ever in history. And we just keep making them bigger, keep making them bigger. And, most of your plants have gotten things where they can handle the bigger carcasses. But we've got a different mindset now. And I've talked to you guys about, we were maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, we were talking about how we needed to get everything uniform, and your packers were trying to convince cattle feeders that they were in the beef business. But most cattle feeders agree now that we're not in the beef business. If your cattle feeders were in the beef business, they would have got to share in those record profits during the big black swans, both the fire at the Tyson Fresh Meats plant and the pandemic. But they didn't get to share in any of those beef profits. So they're in the cattle business, right? So, the way that they got to make money sometimes is to get those cattle as big as they can. And your packers have decided, once they worked through some of those cattle that got backed up during the pandemic, hey, these extra prime carcasses are easy to sell and people like them, so they want the bigger carcasses too because they get more primes off of them. Well, I always, every time somebody told me that you had to fit the box with those carcasses, I said, well, isn't that why they made knives? And indeed, yeah, that's why they make knives. They'll cut those down smaller if they need to fit them in the box. 928-pound carcass. It hadn't been that long ago that they were penalizing anything over 900 pounds. Now the average dressed steer carcass weight is nearly 930 pounds. 2021, despite all the slowdowns we had during the big pandemic, black swan, 2021 is going to be an all-time record beef production, and that's why, is because of these big carcasses. But talk about what else is going on. As you can see, once again, I'm not at the home base out here in Fallon, Nevada. On Friday, Nevada Livestock Marketing in Fallon, Nevada, the sale in town there is going to have 4,000 head. Jack Payne tells me he's pushed the cattle off for both December and January. Instead of having one monthly feeder special, he's had two to keep from having too big of sales. But 4,000 head expected here on Friday, today, at Nevada Livestock Marketing. 900 head of true yearlings. And they'd be hard, dried out things. I tell you what, guys, including Tamara ranches have got yearlings in there from Battle Mountain, Nevada. And there'll be a lot of light desert dried out calves too, if you guys are looking for some lightweights to background. But you can get on dvauction.com, view and bid that sale. Just call into the office and get the okay to bid, and they'll get you a bidder's number. And if you got the trucks, by God, you can get some cattle out there. And these cattle, not only are they hard dried out, as dry as it's been out here, they've also had snow on their backs because they've had a snowstorm, and now they got snow up in the higher elevations, not any down here on the level. But you can get on dvauction.com, view and bid that sale. Won't start till noon Pacific, so that's 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the Central Time Zone, guys. Sit down in your chair and get on the internet and view and bid that sale. How about your feeder cattle markets on Thursday? Your real-time index on DV Auction late in the day on Thursday sitting at 159.18, down but only 35 cents, guys. And that's not bad at all, especially as much ground as we've lost on your fat cattle trade. We've lost $4 on our fat cattle in the Southern Plains, and that's your market. And we've only lost $1.50, $2 on your index level based on an 800-pound steer. And I don't know that your lighter weight calves aren't higher than they were last week. They sure are in some places, but they've had some really reputation strings like they did at Winter Livestock in Pratt, Kansas. 4,500 head there for their last sale before Christmas. Calves, under 600 pounds were higher. Calves over 600 pounds were lower, of course, and not a lot of true yearlings there, not enough to really test the market. But I have to tell you about Nate and Tammy Hart's cattle. They had 900 head of fancy calves in Pratt, Kansas. And Steve Stratford said it was okay to tell you that they were sired out of his bulls, Steve Stratford bulls there. But I tell you what, the buyers came after their calves. They sold 98 head of 547 pound steers at $216. They sold 122 head of 465 pound steers at $226.50. And then look at this quote on 133 head of 414 pound steer calves from the heartstring there. Bring $240 a hundred, guys. That's as high as we've seen them all fall. How about Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas? 3,800 head there, and the trend was exactly the same as it was straight south in Pratt, with the under 600 pound calves selling higher and over 600 pound calves selling lower. We're just out of yearlings, guys. Nobody's got any left, and where you see them, you've got to get enough of them scraped up to fill an order. But my gosh, they can bring any kind of price you can think of. How about Ogallala Livestock Auction, Ogallala, Nebraska? 6,000 head for their sale on Thursday. $2 to $6 higher, with a lot of reputation consignments, like I said, and that always makes the market that much higher. But look at some of these quotes off of this automated market report through Cattle Market Central. 964 head of the 5-weight steer calves in Ogallala. This is all of them they had in the barn. Average 556 at 192.81. Over 1,000 head of 6-weight steer calves in Ogallala. Average 651 with a weighted average price of 173.20. Very impressive. And then 794 head of your 7-weight steer calves. Average 739 pounds on all of them. Weighted average price of 168.04. They sell them high up in the North Country too, guys. How about Stockman's Livestock Exchange, the East Barn in Dickinson, North Dakota? 70 head, 599 pounds or 600 pound steers. Bring $185 in North Dakota? You kidding me? But it tickles me to give you the best quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday. It's your Zach Tran top quote from the day. Comes out of mid-Missouri stockyards, just outside of Lebanon, Missouri, or Phillipsburg, Missouri, right there. For where they're out south of the river in Missouri, tell you what, listen to this quote. 70 head, 792 pound steers. That's scaring the hell out of 800 pounds at 169.85. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.